It is Wednesday, my dudes, and some of you may be aware that I'm currently in the process of moving house, so as a consequence of that, my online presence hasn't been great and things like my Discord and stuff and Twitter, so sorry about that. But I am moving this weekend if all goes to plan, so things should be back on schedule fairly soon. Actually, no, because I won't have internet till the 30th of January, so that's great. Don't really know how I'm going to run this channel, I'll find a way. Either way, I'm getting a bit distracted about today's topic. As you can see, we're not in Neptune Park or Mistletoe Peak, but we are in fact in Crimson Tower, because it is currently Tuesday night, just before Wednesday, in case people aren't familiar with the days of the week. I appreciate I've got a young demographic, I'm not quite sure. So I want to make a Planet Coaster video still. What am I to do? But I thought it might be an interesting idea, someone suggested it a while back actually, to revisit some of my older parks, see how much I've improved with things like Neptune Park on Mistletoe Peak. Because people said Mistletoe Peak was a huge improvement on Neptune Park. Let's have a little gambers about... Oh god, I forgot to open these shops already. Not the best start. So this is Crimson Tower. This is like my first big park after Mirror Lake, which was my first proper park. I did make a little park before Mirror Lake, to be fair. But that was just like a little experimental thing, really, just to get the hang of the game's controls. So this was like... I feel like this Crimson Tower is the first one I put lots of effort into. In fact, it's the only park I've ever made to date with an actual main street on it. Like, Neptune Park has a sort of modern aesthetic to the entrance, and Mistletoe Peak's obviously its own thing. Oh, so I should probably put some barriers, sink some barriers into the ground so guests don't just walk through walls and stuff. But yeah, we've got the little food court just here, which all in all, it hasn't aged particularly well, because now obviously we have park benches and stuff like that. Picnic benches, but at the time we didn't, so I've put some nice coffins down and some benches. So that's the food court area. I'll probably just skip past a lot of Main Street because it's not the most interesting sight to behold. Obviously we have the big tower here. Let's take a little ride in this. So unlike Neptune Park, I just sort of got bored of making the tower. I never really finished it properly. So whereas Neptune Park we've got a nice complicated sort of elevator system at the bottom, Crimson Tower has nothing. You can't even go to the top via stairs, because at the time I didn't realise elevators weren't in the game for some reason. So I just assumed I could put an elevator in at the end. So we're going to just pretend there is an elevator. And then I never bothered kind of completing it properly. So the inside is... Wow, the structure is way worse than I remember it being. Like, Neptune Park is at least consistent with its internal structure in that it might actually work in real life. This is a complete fantasy, though. But we can pretend we're ascending the elevator, looking over Crimson Tower. Look at that. Oh, so we got one of the structure sports, but oh, as you can see, I never really finished the top of the tower. I kind of lost motivation to work on this. I should have done some panning round, actually, shouldn't I? Whilst we ascended. Oh well. A little shot of the monorail over there as we get to the viewing platform, or at least what would have been the platform had this game had elevators. So there we go. I think one of the downsides of this tower is that the top is rather, I don't want to say lackluster, but it looks a little bit juxtaposed, because it's just like the stock building pieces, which are quite blocky and chunky, but then you've got this big intricate metalwork structure underneath it. So it does look a little bit off, a little bit odd at the top, especially with all those like weird angles where I haven't really put much effort into tidying up a little bit. But you know, from a distance, I think it looks okay. This red one here is the Hypercoaster. This probably is my favourite ride in the park. I'm just going to whack the volume off actually so you guys can actually hear stuff. It's probably my favourite ride in the park, to be fair. Where's the car? We might as well time it so the car is actually... Is it in the station? I didn't see it. Oh, there it is. And that's the monorail. Let's just quickly... As you see, we're doing this all in one take. We're just going to fast forward a little bit. Off we go! So yeah, the biggest inspiration for this ride is an Arrow Hypercoaster. The biggest inspiration was probably the Pepsi Max in Blackpool, even though this bears absolutely no resemblance to that ride, other than the fact it's an Arrow Hypercoaster. I hope my microphone's not picking up any of the ambient noise. I just realised I'm going to turn it down a little bit. But yeah, I still think this ride has aged pretty well. Like, it's pretty comparable in terms of quality to my current rides, which admittedly, I'm no pro at building roller coasters. It is a little bit quick in some of the corners, to be fair. It's not entirely smooth, but you don't... Ooh, clipped the tree a little bit. It's not the most smooth thing. I mean, it's kind of smooth, but it could be a lot smoother. But it's an Arrow coaster, and they tend to be pretty janky when it comes to the smoothing anyway, because they're quite old rides, so I'll allow it. I think it's acceptable to be a little bit clunky. Go through the block break section there as we go into the final little bit of twists and turns. Put the block break section there just so if we have 2 cars running, the next one can set off and make sure the station is clear by the time that we get here, which we are. And there's the transfer track there. That's pretty much that right there. What is it even called? Undulation. Undulation obviously means going up and down, so it makes sense. It has a lot of dips. The first, we're basically just doing POVs of Crimson Tower. I didn't do like an overview episode like I did for Neptune Park and Mistletoe Peak. In that Crimson Tower's overview episode was just like a cinematic and stuff. So that'd be kind of nice to. I'm just going to stop using a controller because even though it's less smooth, it's like way faster to actually move around. Okay, well this is just called the American Arrow 1. We may as well stick to the theme of doing arrow coasters first. So again, not the smoothest thing. I think probably the biggest inspiration is probably the corkscrew at Alton Towers. Formerly at Alton Towers, it now doesn't exist. But it was the first and I think only arrow looping coaster I've actually ever ridden. Lovely little shot of the tower. I love the lift hill of this thing just because you've got the tower there. That's why I didn't fast forward the lift hill just then. But yeah, I feel like, do you guys want me to do like overview episodes of all the parks I've done, by the way? I'm thinking about doing a back-to-back comparison. So in one video we visit Mirror Lake, Crimson Tower, Neptune Park, and Mistletoe Peak, and the Lowne Land, I think was the name I called my very, very first park, just so we can get a comparison. Maybe even like I can incorporate some RCT3 parks into that list. So we go into the corkscrew, and we snake around. Little bit tuggy, I think, a little bit violent, even for an arrow looper, which are very violent rides and break your skull. I think even this is cutting a little bit close. But all in all, I think it's alright. Did they even have a transfer track? I think it does have a transfer track. I'm pretty sure every ride in this park except like the junior coaster and like the launched coaster have transfer tracks, yeah. It's not pretty low effort in terms of as far as transfer tracks go, but I guess it's okay. I guess we've got to go for the big boy. Oh, look at that. Started out just how we wanted it to, pretty much. So this is the first and only hybrid coaster I've made. Don't really know how realistic it is. It's certainly much bigger in scale than any existing hybrid coaster. Like that airtime hill probably there. Oh, and that decapitation bit just there. Not especially good, I guess, in retrospect. But I think this could potentially be a real ride. I have no idea what the G-forces are like, to be fair. They could be way, way too high. But if provided it wouldn't kill you, I'd ride this ride. Oh, a bit of a flat turn there, actually. That could be improved. But generally, considering this is like only like the seventh roller coaster maybe I've ever been in this game, I think it's not bad. It's not too shabby. I still think the Hypercoaster is winning in terms of my favourite, although this was the first one I made in this park, so this represents kind of an early in my Planet Coaster career series. Just ignore the post whacking into your face, dear guests. Yeah, I didn't like Neptune Park. I really tried to just put effort into my station buildings, and this one, it's, come on, mate, it's so slow. I put effort into my station buildings, but I think for all intents and purposes it's pretty good. And we even have a photo booth as well, which is remarkably high effort for considering I was very lazy back in. Now this was like a custom skin for this ride here. I didn't intend to make it a custom skin. I just didn't notice that this isn't actually a Western themed ride. It's like a, let me have a look. It's like a science fiction ride. As you can see, it's got a brain in the middle, which doesn't really fit, and obviously this thing isn't here either. So though, let's just reskin it and make it Western themed. So I think it turned out pretty well. And we added some like fencing around the edge as well. Pretty nice. Anyway, let's get over to the weird part of the park. I still don't really know how I feel about the science fiction area. Like, I feel like it looks a bit up, because this, obviously the rides themselves are pretty unrealistic, but in terms of the aesthetic, I suppose, it looks like it could be a real theme park, but then this is just as like crazy. This is like better than Disneyland theming, in terms of at least the expense, not necessarily the quality of it. Whereas the rest of the park's just very generic Six Flags almost themed, so I feel like this is probably, it's a bit of a weird juxtaposition, isn't it? But I think this area turned out pretty nicely. Albeit very unrealistic, I think. Not too sure. Oh, I forgot I added those little guys there. You alright, fellas? How you doing? So this loop here is massive because I basically wanted this park to have the selling point of having the world's biggest vertical loop. So I added some amazing custom supports here. I mean, in my defense, custom sports, as in the actual scenery pieces, weren't in the game, so I had to make do with the art pieces. But even so, I think it doesn't look that great, to be honest. And I can't wait to see how not smooth that first barrel roll is. I mean, my roller coasters nowadays are barely smooth. Should be exciting to see how terrible that one is. Let's give this one a little ride whilst I struggle to find a good camera position. Quick, get to the front. Train. Whoops. Seat. There we go. Seamless. No one saw anything. Let's just fast forward a little bit. Here we go. So, pretty much inspired by the Hulk coaster, this launch. Well, it's not quite as rough as I thought it was going to be. Helps that our view was completely occluded by those hands. Going through the world's biggest vertical loop, I think. As in, like, I actually googled what is the tallest loop in the world and made mine slightly bigger than that. That's how I got that claim. The rest of the ride is fairly, I don't know, standard. Just lots of set pieces. A gigantic corkscrew. This could even be the world's biggest corkscrew, come to think of it. Although I have no idea what actually holds the record for that, what the record is. But I feel like, as far as corkscrews go, that's pretty big. And then we've got a load of random elements back here. This area doesn't look very fenced up, actually. It's probably not very safe. Where the guests can basically just wander down here. Invertless loop. Absolutely no reason. Usually they're good to put near crowds. People can see the spectacle of it, but I guess I knew better. And there's the massively overbuilt station shed there. Oh god. I actually really like the way this... First of all, the interior is terrible, isn't it? I really like the way this station building looked when I first made it. I think in hindsight, it does look a bit naff, doesn't it? Definitely needs some work around the edges. Although I guess in general it's not too bad, is it? The launch tube's certainly pretty good, I think, if I don't say so myself. Oh, that thing's about to launch. Quick. Pause the game. Have a nice little look around. And off we go. This is this one. Reverse freefall. Not much to say about it, so it's good that we kind of got this one out of the way. Pretty standard. Let's get over to... This was like the last part of the park I built, I'm pretty sure. I remember really liking how this inverted coaster here came out. So let's see if this is stood the test of time. Already, the transfer track is way better. Still could be better. But as far as... Oh, it's about to set off, actually. Quick, get on board! There we go. So we start off with a nice little... I probably should put some canopies over there. Little custom entrance for maintenance workers to get onto the lift hill. Lovely little loop. Very B&M-ish loop around the lift hill. Good so far. Just get our way to the top. I say time warp to the top, but that's a different game that I should probably play at some point. There we go. Pretty nice bar. I actually fenced off all the areas where guests could potentially hit the cars as well, which is good. I think I still prefer the Hyper, but this is pretty good actually. And I think this is probably the most realistic so far. Oh, a bit of a flat turn in there. Maybe not. Maybe not. I just realised I've been talking over every single POV, and I think people hate that. You can watch this, the cinematic. I'll link the cinematic equivalent to this video, so you can watch all these without me talking over it. I realise that people might not appreciate that. Whatever. This is the best you could get, alright? I don't have any time to do Planet Coaster. Although, like I said, I'm not going to have internet until like the 30th of January. And a lot of PC games have DRM. So I can't play any Yakuza 0, which is a shame because I wanted to play that. But you need to sign into Denuvo every time. So that's a shame. Monster Hunter World can't be played offline. So I can't play that. So it's basically going to be KSP and Planet Coaster. And I've got some GOG games as well. Maybe I should try and play Hollow Knight again. I sort of stopped playing that. I got a bit bored of it. Which, I don't know why. Because I really liked Hollow Knight. Anyway, this is my janky-ass camera. So this is a launched terrain coaster. I do actually really like this one. So this could potentially become the second favourite. Or favourite. Bit of a weird roll. I should probably do that again with the 2-meter smoothing technique. Ooh, a little scenery interaction there as we go into the terrain part, or second terrain phase, I should say. Oh, a bit of a flat corner there, but generally not too bad. I reckon that'll be okay. High G-force bend round here. This is kind of like the Planet Coaster method of making terrain coaster, where I just made the ride, then shaped the scenery around it, I think. In fact, no, I don't think I did, actually. I think there was that hill there, and I built this around the hill. So I did do it properly. Very Rubik's Cube-esque station building. But you know what? That's probably my second favourite ride, actually. Oh, it's difficult to pick. I mean, look at that transfer track. You can see I really stepped up the detail in getting the transfer tracks looking realistic. Well, how would that work? Oh, this is long enough, though, to accommodate the car, so it's fine. That's it for the roller coaster. I think we've got this one to go, actually. That was just I added this as an afterthought just to fill in this empty space here. I think it's even open. Yeah, I can't even open it. Why can't I open it? Oh, because it's untested. Right, guys, we're about to be the first... Oh, what was that? Am I playing Planet Coaster or Subnautica here? I'm going to time it right. There we go. So, yep, giant inverted boomerang. Very unreal... Oh, have I left... No, I think I've... Yeah, it's a very unrealistic layout. As in, it's not just the standard vertical loop and Cobra roll. It's actually like a more original layout. So I guess it's kind of a good selling point for this park, although it's not very reminiscent of a real ride. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I suppose. As we come up to this little hill just here. I mean, look at that station. It looks so rushed, doesn't it? I think I made this on a week like this, where I didn't have any Planet Coaster content made, and it was like a Monday night, so I didn't really have anything. I didn't really know what to do. So, oops. Should be fine. I think it's fine. Are we going to watch the whole thing backwards? I don't know, maybe. I mean, what did you guys think? I mean, we've pretty much finished, right? This was much quicker than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would have been a nice hour and a half, but I guess there's not much to do. Once you've ridden the rides and seen the scenery, it's kind of like, yeah, this was a park I made once. But yeah, what did you think of this? I think I probably if I could do a standalone episode like this for Mirror Lake, because it's basically going to be repeating myself, but maybe revisiting, first of all, starting off with the RCT3 parks, and then going on to Lowne Land, which was the rubbish Planet Coaster park I made when I first... The backstage area of this park is ridiculously huge, isn't it? Which is the first park I made in Planet Coaster, again, just to kind of familiarise myself with the controls. I didn't make a series out of that, I just made one big long video. And I just built the whole thing in one video with lots of cuts and stuff. I think the video... Oh, I didn't talk about the hotel, actually. The hotel actually has aged pretty well, I think. Again, it's not that great when you go right up close to it, but then... Actually, no, I think that's pretty good, to be honest. This roof is a bit naff. That needs some, trimming around the edges. But aside from that, pretty good. But yeah. I think we can leave it there. I will hopefully have content for you next Wednesday. Don't know how I'm going to upload it yet, though, because I won't have internet till the 30th. So we'll just have to put a big TBC on that. But that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching this. I didn't ride the junior coaster. It's not even... It is open. Let's just quickly put it on a test. We can talk about the outro stuff whilst we're riding this. Let's get to the top. Okay, so like I say, I hope you enjoyed this video. Oh, there's a bit of a sideways tree in midair. Hopefully no one saw that. And another mid-air tree. Okay, this roller coaster isn't really doing me any favours when it comes to ending the video on this kind of note now. It's our famous flying tree over there. Anyway, like I say, I feel like I've now said this a few times in this video, but I hope you enjoyed it. There are links on screen at the end to things, and like I say, hopefully next Wednesday I'll have figured out a way of getting around the lack of internet to upload to YouTube, and I will see you then.